Bandage his ribs.
Prepare for a fight to the death.
I only wish I was still a member of the Obsidian Order.
It's either a self-sealing stem bolt or a reverse ratcheting router. I'm just not sure.
Oh, God help us all. Do not play games with me. What about Garrick?
Yes, that's right. We are back after a long hiatus here on Deep Space Nine at Nine-ish. I'm your host, as always, Jeff at Nine-ish, joined by my brother Dave at Nine-ish. Dave Mater, how are you?
I'm well, Jeff. Do not play games with me, and show a little respect to the head of the Cardassian government.
Right. Yeah. Well, we get into a lot of that here with the whole Julian is a changeling finally revealed in these 2 episodes. We're doing 2 episodes tonight here. Season 5, episode 14 and 15. They're kind of a linked episodes, but we're also joined here by Kevin Millard. Kevin, are you ready to talk about the changeling Bashir? And he was here all along.
At least 4 weeks.
I say more.
A little over a month, Jeff, was kind of the consensus there. It not maybe as far back as you had hoped, right?
Right from the beginning.
Right from season 1. It was always changeling Bashir.
He was so weird.
4 weeks? Are you telling me I've been hanging around with a changeling for over a month?
And you never even suspected it wasn't me? No. The worst part is, the clues were right in front of me. What clues? Well, for one thing, he was a lot easier to get along with.
I love that.
Okay, so the first episode here in Purgatory Shadow is, I'm just gonna put it out here right now, the lesser of the 2 episodes. My Inferno's Light for me is a much stronger episode.
Why do you think that?
I just find that the second episode, the plot moves more. I enjoy watching like the Worf, stuff in where he's doing the the combat stuff. I enjoy the stuff with Garrick. I enjoy the station having to figure out what's going on. I don't know. I just like the second episode much better. The first episode, the kind of the big thing is at the end where Bashir is the reveal with Bashir kind of happens. But everything up into that is just kind of getting the characters in their situations.
See, I've always think I've enjoyed the first episode a little bit more because it is build up, but it's I think in particular because it's the Worf and Garrick of it all in the first hour or the first episode. I think that they're obviously still together in the second one, but they're kind of on different paths in the second part where he's trying to get the comm system. Garrick's trying to get the comm system going. Worf is in his like prison fight club with the Jem'Hadar, and kind of with Martok mostly. And it's more Bashir and real Bashir and Garrick in the second hour. But the first part of it with Worf and Garrick, I really like. I like that we don't find out it's changeling Bashir until the end of the episode ourselves, right? So, but there's no on the rewatch. You obviously know, and it's kind of interesting just seeing that all play out. I'd also like a second, just Jeff. Let's not forget Derek Garth.
Who's Derek Garth?
He was a grip who worked on the show. He died in a car accident a couple weeks before the episode.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
So just want to remember him.
Okay.
I have lots of screenshots. If you want to ever see anything, if you want to hear anything, I got it all.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right. In this first episode, there is a lot of Garrick and Ziyal, and then Dax and Worf kind of, that's kind of a lot of like their personal lives that's kind of going on. We get these conversations with Garrick and Ziyal.
Don't forget the opener with the Odo and Kira.
God, yes. See, this is why I don't like this episode as much. Kevin, help me out on this one. The opening here with Kira and Odo. Good, bad, ugly. What do you say?
It's good. It's the forgettable part of these 2 episodes. I like it though. I like that Odo is looking for a mate, and she's embarrassed him by finding these books that he's been reading.
Was it like Vulcan Love Slave number 5 or something? And she's like, Odo, getting into the dirty romance novels. And he's like, listen, because they're kind of dealing with the aftermath that he's not a changeling anymore, which feels like a long time ago since we watched that episode where he got that back. But for them, it's not been that long, and it's like within the 4 weeks at least, right? And yeah, he's of course,
I'm glad this episode doesn't revolve around this, or they bring it back up again at all. Like
they do in the next episode.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah,
they just like stuck it in here at the beginning, but the episode really has nothing to do with Odo at all. And Kira it's more with Kira and Dukat. So it's interesting that they included it here in the beginning of this two-parter. It's kind of a misdirect in some ways.
I think it kind of goes to like, I don't feel like these two characters really had that much chemistry, especially at the beginning. Like it kind of worked once they got together, but like it really doesn't happen until that holodeck episode where he thinks, it's a fake Kira and everything. Like, but everything before that just feels really forced and stilted between the two characters, and and I think a lot of it has to do with Odo. Like he just is coming off now. He's a changeling again. He thought he was going to be, stuck to the confine, of human urges and all these things, and
be a solid.
And now he doesn't need that anymore. That's kind of what they're just wrapping up, that kind of idea. But at the same time, they're like, oh, he still likes her, and that's, they're just reminding you of that, I think.
Yeah, I guess they were continuing this like through line of like, these characters have ongoing storylines. Obviously, Odo and Kira is an ongoing storyline, and they're like, we're just gonna stick this in at the beginning, and then we're gonna call these two up to ops, sort of like as a transition here, where they get the Cardassian code. That they're trying to figure out, right? And so they're called in because they're more experts on Cardassian codes than Sisko and Dax are, I guess. And they're looking through all that, and they're not able to crack it. And then Odo's the one who suggests, well, what about Garrick? And I don't think what was the last time we even saw Garrick? The one where I guess it was the dream, right? That we had the one what was that called? Where
it's been a while, like real
things passed. Yes.
Yeah.
Remember that where, it was him and Dax and Sisko, and Garrick, right? They were all in like that flashback scene, right? But we haven't really seen Garrick since then. And that's when we got to transition over here to Changeling Bashir and Zial having coffee. So can changelings eat if they want to?
Yes.
I guess. I mean, Odo does that thing with the cup. Remember when he was like, I can refill my cup and have the illusion of enjoying the dining experience with everyone.
Right. So he's doing an illusion, or maybe like more sophisticated changelings can actually operate a functional digestive system, and
maybe
right? Because if you scanned changeling Bashir, you would just read a human, right?
That's what's explained. Yeah, that they become the thing that they are, because even the computer is like where he asks if Bashir is still on the station, right? Or where his last.
Because the computer even thinks it's Bashir as well. Right. So it's that good. But like Garrick shows up here, and I just love. He's like, yeah, the code's nothing.
You should have seen the looks on their faces when I explained to them that it was a 5-year-old planetary survey report.
Yes.
But it wasn't.
Yeah, he's like, let Sisko know I'll decrypt any old Cardassian laundry list. He's like, yeah, that's the look on their faces. He's like, what was it? A planetary survey report? And
and they shouldn't really trust Garrick, but they're kind of trusting him because they can't break it on their own, and they kind of trust him too much, I think, in that moment or whatever. Because I think they should suspect that it is something.
Well, but Changeling Bashir knows he's bullshitting.
Exactly. Yeah. Changeling Bashir, you rewatch on this episodes, you can really see before we know it, Changeling Bashir, he is pushing certain characters, especially Worf and Garrick, into that trap. So that they go find an Bretagne, because he knows Bretagne is. And
then it comes to this whole idea: did the founders even want Garrick and Worf to get captured and also escape? Like the eventual outcome of this two-parter, like, because that comes up more in the Section 31 stuff that comes up later with Bashir and Sloan, and there's some doubt cast there. But because was Bashir turned by the Dominion or not is one of the theories that Section 31 has about him, right? That he's, even though he's the real Bashir, he's kind of maybe a sleeper agent or some kind of sympathizer to the Dominion. Garrick, Andrew Robinson in this episode, so good. They write him so well. They give him such great lines.
I have dresses to make, trousers to mend. It's a full life, if a trifle banal.
It's a full life, if a trifle banal. And he's like, see ya. That's how he leaves a room. Then, the Carl Cardassian like touching hands. I guess this is what boyfriend and girlfriends do. Because I don't ever see the other Cardassians do this.
I've never seen that before.
I think it's just kind of like a saying hello.
It's like a handshake?
Yeah, that's what I think it is. It's more like, hey, how's it going? Kind of thing. And they just I
don't know. I never see.
I don't think it's a love thing.
I never saw Garrick and Tane do that.
No, I don't. It seems like friends would do that type of thing. That was my interpretation of it. But
most Cardassians are not friends with each other.
Well, yes.
Well, yeah, most Cardassians, unless they're family, and even then, it's kind of tenuous.
But what do you think of making this scene where it's Bashir and Garrick on the runabout, but it's changing Bashir, and Garrick's not able to suspect at all that he's not the real Bashir. Nobody is. Nobody
is. They all think it's him.
Yeah, and there's the conversation. He goes, "Oh, you've actually become a lot more duplicitous," and he's like, "I had a good teacher," which he does use his past well to kind of obfuscate. But Garrick should have been smart enough to know that Bashir ain't that smart.
You become distrustful and suspicious. It suits you.
And I just think Garrick being the secret spy that he was, it would have been cool for him to have kind of at least suspected it.
Right.
But he doesn't, so that's how impressive the changelings are, I guess, is what they wanted to do. But the
Martok changeling before this too, right, was the other kind of key one. But we never met the real Martok until this two-parter, because it was always the changeling Martok from the beginning of season 4. So here we are, like a season and a half later, and we finally get J.G. Hertzler finally gets to play the real Martok later on.
It would be a grave dishonor.
It was
and the second episode, he steals the show. In the second episode, I think he makes a huge impact. And they were like, we need to we killed the changeling guy at the beginning of the season. Why not bring the actor back as the real guy? It's kind of, we'll just tear his eye off or whatever, and that will be that. But yeah. But Bashir pulls him in. The real Bashir maybe would have gone on this adventure with him, right? That Garrick was about to go off into the Gamma Quadrant. He was going to steal the runabout. Mm-hmm. But changeling Bashir brings him in. I don't know what the real Bashir would have done or not done. I don't think it would have been the same as the changeling Bashir. I guess there's no way to know. But it's interesting to see how they kind of, he's like, yeah, the code I told you was bullshit. It actually is real. It's from a Nobran Tain. All that, right? And he's like, I have to, get them. And there's other people, like there might be other Alpha Quadrant types who are captured. We have to try to save them. So Sisko kind of agrees to this, but and even Changeling Bashir is like, no, you can't let him go. So I don't know what Changeling Bashir was really going for here,
unless he's trying to do reverse psychology, and he knows how Sisko works, and he's like, the more I push against it, the more he's going to do it, or whatever,
That's why I like this first hour, especially on the rewatch, because it's so interesting to try, because we never get the point of view from Changeling Bashir, right? Like he's revealed at the end of this episode, at the first episode. And in the second episode, he's just kind of going around and kind of got smirks on his face. But you never, other than he hates solids, I guess, you can infer from him being a founder.
There's never a conversation with him about his philosophies. I think that was a mistake, because I think it would have given the Changeling Bashir a little bit more of a dynamic.
This plot was to wipe out the entire solar system with a supernova, right? So they were going to kill billions of people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
this was going to be like a massive wipeout, and of the fleets and of the Deep Space Nine as well, and everything else. So this was like, I don't even know how this wasn't an active war. I don't even know how war wasn't declared immediately after this.
That's why I think it would have been really good had they had Garrick snuff it out, but it was before they he didn't get a chance to warn anybody or something like that. I think that would have been kind of a cool idea, because it would have been good to have a scene with the Changing Bashir.
Something. So just maybe one one thing where we got a little bit of his real personality, but the best we ever get is him kind of looking fishy at people or smirking at people.
Like maybe they even if they had just contacted the Yukon in the last episode first,
yeah,
and talked,
Yeah.
that could have been some space for him to do that.
To do that, yeah. Okay, what do you guys make of the Dax and Worf of it all, where Dax is basically holding his Klingon operas hostage?
Oh yeah.
My Klingon operas.
Yeah, I love her little rant here at the beginning. It's so good. She delivers it so well. She's like, I don't know what makes me more mad that you agreed to go on to a mission to the Gabbard Quadrant with Garrick, or that
I had to hear it from Cisco.
That's right, Jedzia. And he's like a Klingon warrior.
A Klingon warrior does not have to explain why he chooses to face danger, not even to his Parmakai.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you shit.
I love that he says that while he's sharpening his blade. Like,
yeah. And she's like, "What do you think? I would make a scene?"
So, in other words, you were afraid I'd make a scene, that I'd embarrass you, maybe even cry.
Yeah, he's just like, "You are capable."
You are capable of anything.
He's basically like married to Amber Heard. Like, it's like how he goes about his life.
Yeah, and she's like, nope, I wasn't gonna do any of that. So he's like,
And then you came to wish me a good death in battle.
no, give me the Klingon operas.
My Klingon operas.
She pulls them out of the drawer here, and she's like, you want these back? You better come back.
Yeah,
I love this scene. I love this part of the episode too. It's a very quick scene, but it's some great, another great scene with these two characters, which I love.
It is a good scene, but this is kind of my deal with Dax. It's like the only thing I find she does really well are these scenes with Worf a lot of the time. Like these scenes with Worf and her scenes with Cisco. A lot of the time, Dax is not really bringing it as far as being a science officer, as being like a Star Trek character in a lot of ways. That's kind of my
yeah, I agree in some ways. Sometimes it's just how she's written, and sometimes at this point in the show, I feel like the writers were having a much easier time, especially when they were putting in with Worf and with Cisco, of course. But I also with Kira. Like later on, she has that whole thing, like Kira Yoshi doesn't recognize his own fingers. If he's smiling at you, it's probably gas. So when they give her good stuff, but I think like as the station's science officer,
she doesn't do a whole hell of a lot.
She doesn't seem to do a whole lot of sciencing. She's more of a pilot, it seems like, or kind of just a member of the ops crew. But yeah, it's kind of for me.
I think they made a mistake making her a green color. I think they should have probably made her, yellow or red. Because I think she just seems not really into science.
She's into Worf.
She's into Worf. Okay, then we get the Gul Dukat shows up on the station, and he's very upset.
It's Garrick and Zial up in the upper level quarks here having, she's like, I like you, and don't go on this mission and everything. He's like, what does he say? Like, basically, like,
she's like, why do you like me, or like, why do you hang out with me? It's like, and he explains, I've been exiled. You're the only person around here that reminds me of my home. Like which makes sense,
Yeah. Yeah. And he's holding her hands, and this is where Gul Dukat shows up, ready to kill. He's a angry dad here.
Take your hands off her.
Touch my daughter again, I'll kill you.
Yeah. And Garrick's just like, you're helping my back, man. It's great.
Yeah, he says an even better line. He's like, go ahead, throw me off. She'll never forgive you, That's what he says to him.
Yeah. He's just like messing with them. I love how much they hate each other. Sam's happy to have us back. We're back for Deep Space 99, Sam. We're glad you're happy too.
Glad you're happy.
Yeah, and just like everything here with Quark showing up, and he's just like,
I'll act as I please.
Ferengi. What is I got the other one here from Garrick.
Public opinion seems to be running against you.
Yes, public opinion seems to be running against you. And then he lets him up, and then
You do have a lovely daughter. She must take after her mother.
Yeah, he's just great.
That's a great insult. It really is.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
why
he's like, I'll buy you a
Garrick has
drink.
all those one-liners.
I'll buy you a
Yeah.
drink, Garrick from Quark here. It's like Quark's not in this two-parter very much at all, but he has a couple scenes that stand out in each one. And he even does the whole like goodbye here with Zial right in front of Dukat, just to put some salt in the wound. Just to remind ourselves, Dukat's father was killed by Garrick, like was basically broken by the Obsidian Order on Tane's orders, and so Dukat, maybe understandably so, holds a grudge for that against Garrick, you know. So
Right.
he's just but she's like, so happy to see you, Dad. Thanks for not killing my boyfriend. You know,
Are they boyfriend and girlfriend?
Well, they touch hands. I don't know.
Isn't Garrick gay?
He's pan, I think.
Okay.
So I don't know. He never really says.
Okay. What do you make of the Worf and Garrick? And
Great.
You want to talk about the scene first?
The Worf and Cisco here, where you know he's just like,
What about Garrick? At the first sign of betrayal, I will kill him, but I promise to return the body intact.
Intact. Like he
He's
was
like,
going to break them in
I
half.
love that. I love that last part. Like it's funny but then when he just says, "But I will bring the body back." Like,
yeah, that's my promise.
And doesn't Cisco say?
I assume that's a joke.
I assume that's a
We will
joke.
see.
Yeah, we will see.
We will see. We will see. Because remember
Say
that
one way or another.
he's like, we'll see. I remember like Garrick and Worf had that fight on the Defiant when Garrick tried to commit genocide, and you know before he got the 6 months for that. So they have some history together here, and you know you just see there's kind of this look here as Worf's going into the airlock, and then we go to commercial, come back, and then here we are, the odd couple on the road trip together, Garrick and Worf, which I love, and he's like, you want me to sponsor your application to Starfleet Academy?
Yeah.
Like it's so amazing. Like it's just like, what do you think? Huh? Is that good? He's like, find somebody else. He's like, come on, Starfleet Academy is a very
Starfleet Academy is a very accepting place.
I think it is a bad idea.
you know, he's like, you're not just he's like, come on, Cardassian, are you being racist against Cardassians? He's like, look, you're a saboteur, you're a spy, you're a murderer, whatever, assassin. He goes, look,
I know I've done some unfortunate things in the past, and I regret them.
He wants to start his career as a commander, and he's like, you should put that in your letter.
Tell them you'd be honored to serve under me.
Yeah, he'd be honored.
My favorite was this, because at the very end where he says like, I'm looking for redemption.
I'm looking for a fresh start, a way to make up for all the damage I've done. I need to prove to myself that I can be better than I am, but I need your help, your support to start me on my way to redemption.
Just the way he says to redemption. It's like the one part he has like hard getting out because he's like, I guess that's what I'm supposed to say here that would convince him. Because he, again, this whole scene's about Garrick just practicing the art of lying, right?
Yeah.
He's like, nope, I don't want to go to Starfleet Academy at all.
It's just messing with him.
Yeah, lying's a skill like any other.
Because lying is a skill like any other, and if you want to maintain a level of excellence, you have to practice constantly.
So, just like, I like that. It's a quick scene just for Garrick to get under Worf's skin right from the get. You know, like quick way after Worf was just like, I'll bring his body back. That's all I'm guaranteed you. Like, I might kill him, might not. Who say? Then we get the whole Dukat and Kira of it, Jeff.
Yeah, which is all about, you know, how dare you let my daughter talk to Garrick, and you know, it's very, domineering father, you know, basically ridiculing the principal of the station. You know, it's very much like, how dare you? And she's like,
Kira's just not having any of it. She's like, I'm not here because of you. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Y'all's here because I want her here.
I'm surprised she even sits down to have a cup of Joe with him. Like
she was already sitting down, to be fair. She didn't.
But I always find these like scenes baffling because, like, you know, Kira hates Dukat. Like, there's very little, like, it's nothing but animosity, basically. And
to be fair, this is the point the relationship was probably at its best.
Well, yeah, right, because it's about to get worse next.
It's about to get really bad. It's about to get bad again. Yeah. But like, I think like Dukat, she's at least willing to like tolerate Dukat a little bit, right? And she's like, if this is about me taking her to this temple, and he's like,
Talking about exposing her to your backward superstitions?
just some of the lines that he delivers, like this is really well read. And she's like, well, he's like, you know that Garrick is a heartless, cold-blooded killer or whatever. Where's that? I got that here. Here.
The man is a heartless, cold-blooded killer.
Like I said, he's a Cardassian.
Right. So that's a jab right back at him. At the same time, and Dukat's worse than Garrick at the end of the day. And he's got to prove it next episode.
Right. But that's kind of like. Like talk about when the show was airing, Dukat was the more popular of the two, of Dukat and Garrick.
Even at this point.
Oh yeah, I think that this did a lot to change that. But I think like Dukat was considered more of this anti-hero, and Garrick was just like a spy, a backstabber, like not to be trusted. Who knows what he's about, right? But like I think that was kind of the feeling here. But Dukat's like, you've betrayed me.
You've betrayed me, and I promise I won't forget it.
Right.
She's not impressed. And
there was a time when Bajorans took Cardassian threats very seriously.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So, and she kind of has this look on as he walks away, like, maybe I've messed up here, or I don't know. I don't know what what we're supposed to read off her face from the end of this conversation, because she clearly doesn't give a damn about Dukat. She cares about Ziyal. Right. And she acknowledges that Ziyal is his daughter. So I think that, but it's almost like she's stepping in here for the late mother of Ziyal, who was Bajoran, who she never knew, but, like, it's like she's going to kind of deal with the abusive ex sort of thing, the co-parenting of it all.
The whole episode where they find Ziyal, it's both Dukat and Kira. So they're both responsible kind of for bringing her back, and Dukat wanted to kill her. So Kira kind of saved her in that way as well. So, like, yeah, I could see all those things make sense as far as responsibility. The fact, I guess, maybe this scene is kind of representative of like when a divorce happens and you have to deal with the other partner. That's what I got
vibes off of it for. Where you may not like this person, but you're kind of both responsible for the child of it all. And so, yeah.
Okay, moving to the next scene, we have Garrick and Worf again, and they're going through the Gamma Quadrant, and
Garrick's pissed about the replicators.
Yeah, he wants to have a conversation with this Earl Grey fellow.
Yeah, he's like, who? I would like to tell him a little thing about making tea. And Worf's like, we got to turn around. It's too dangerous, And Garrick just goats him into this.
Garrick just plays him like nothing. Like
he's like, what? The Warriors of the Federation. Garrick just gaslighting him, and Worf's like, yeah, I guess you're right. Even though my orders were to go no further, I should turn around here.
Well, that is Worf's fault. We see it in like back-to-back scenes with him, one with Dax and then one with Garrick, that he can be manipulated quite easily, because Klingons at the end of the day have these stupid, rigid rules about dumb things about honor and duty and being a warrior and all these things. And if you just like poke and prod and twist that, you can pretty much get them to do what you want. And Garrick is smart enough to know that.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, we can just go through this nebula. Come on, no problem. Which ends up not working out for them very well.
Not working out great. Yeah. But I love when he's when Garrick starts talking about honor, and he's like, you don't know what that means.
He's
and
like,
Garrick is just like, yeah, but you do.
You do. But I completely admit I don't know what the hell it means, but you do. So let's go. So just this look here where he's like, this guy. I don't know about this guy. But anyway, they head in, Jeff.
Yes, they do. They head in, and it does. They go through some turbulence, and they make it. They make it through the other side, and there's Jem'Hadar ships there. Lots of them. And it doesn't go well. They get put into a tractor beam, and then the Jem'Hadar basically beam onto their runabout.
They're trying to get away here
too. Because Garrick's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here," and they just fucking hit him.
It's the best. Yeah.
Are we glad to see you? Could one of you point us in the direction of the wormhole?
This guy just bashes his face in. We never see what happens with Worf, but I imagine something similar. And then it just cuts away, and you're like, "Uh-oh." Back to the station.
Yeah, that's the stuff the lines they give Andrew Robinson that really shine on the rewatch.
Yeah.
You're just like, that's the best, you know.
He's like, "Oh,
He delivers them so well too. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he knows it won't work. He
No,
knows he's
but
not going to charm the Jem'Hadar out of this, but he still goes for it.
But not only does he go for it, I think he knows it's not going to work. I think he likes getting his say in. Like he just likes he's like, I got a good line for this moment, and he just
Well,
loves
everybody got
using
beat up
it.
by the Klingons in the tailor shop. He's like, yes, but I got many insults
Yeah.
in that would clearly go to their
many cutting blows.
And he blows that will hurt
long term.
their ego
Exactly.
for many years.
Sure to cause long-term psychological damage.
Yes, exactly.
So like all that stuff's great. Then we also so after that we're back on the station and we get the whole scene you alluded to earlier, Dave, about Kira Yoshi, hearing her Kira's voice, and there's a connection there, and Dax doesn't buy it. It's all in her head. She's a baby. Nerys, you don't know what you're talking
Every time I walk into the room, he smiles. It's probably gas. Thanks. You always know just the right thing to say.
about. Yeah, she is a little bit of a downer. I mean, does it hurt? Yeah, it doesn't hurt to go, oh yeah, she probably does recognize you, and
It's like O'Brien
she's
does.
a realist.
yeah, she's a little pessimistic on those things.
Yeah.
Because Kira tells O'Brien, he's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, who already has a
Indeed.
kid and probably knows this is nonsense, but he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, my boy, he saw you, did he? Oh,
Yeah.
And then it quickly turns dark as they're like, "Uh-oh, we're getting a transmission from the Gamma Quadrant. It's coming from Worf, and it's like Dominion, or it's like Jem'Hadar imminent, like invasion or something like that. It's like the 3 words that come through from the message, and then it's Cisco. He's like, "Uh-oh." We got some shit.
Yeah, he knows something's wrong because the whole setup here with them having to go to the Gamma Quadrant to find Tane, and it just now there's Jem'Hadar, just everything feels like it's building towards something bad, and Cisco I think kind of knows it. But there's not a lot of Cisco in these episodes, especially in the first.
More in the second episode, I think, because it's more him and Ducat. They have a couple key conversations.
Yeah.
But I feel he's less present in this than like in The Way of the Warrior, for instance, or some other things where he's more of a commanding presence, right? Because there's more. There's a lot of the characters get a lot to do in this, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we're bouncing around. We're over here to the asteroid prison now, and this place I thought was a really cool just setting because we're only like into the first episode here, and they're already there, right? And this is pretty much they'll spend the entire second episode, at least most of these characters, right?
Yeah, they make it about halfway into the episode. They're on this prison asteroid floating thing in the Gamma Quadrant, which is pretty cool. Yeah, you're right, because they really build a good set here, and you really get to know the layout and kind of understand the prison, which I think was key for the next episode.
Feels like a real place, right? Like it really has like a personality. You get to know, like there's like only a few characters. There's Jem'Hadar first guy, and then there's the Vorta that shows up later, and then some of the other prisoners. But it feels grounded.
That's good. There's also this.
Like, I got to take him back in one piece, buddy.
You can almost see like the
But there's
rubber on
also
that Jem'Hadar's arm like twisting there, though.
There's also the scene before though that we missed. It's Ducat basically trying to warn Zial to get off the station. Basically, come with me now. This isn't safe. Does he know before he ever comes onto the station that the whole plan?
But it comes right after this. Yeah, we didn't miss it. It just comes out. It comes out.
So when he's talking to Kira before, he knows what's going to happen.
He knows all this is coming. He said we negotiated this a week ago, or we finalized the deal
a week ago. Okay, I missed. I missed that part.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, he's playing both sides at the moment, right? He's given this. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think about what is Ducat's angle here, because why does he come to the station here? What, he's still on his Klingon bird of prey.
He's there to get his daughter.
He's there.
That's it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense if you just like, he's there to get Zial, to convince her to come back to Cardassia. And that's it. That's the only real purpose he has.
And he has to get her to come back to Cardassia because Bajor's going to get wiped out.
Right. He knows about that part too. You know, I don't know. I don't think he masterminded it. He's just privy to it.
He's privy to it. He knows there's going to be a big event that's going to basically make Cardassia the most powerful in his mind in the Alpha Quadrant, because the Federation's going to be out of the way, and the Dominion and the Cardassians are going to team up, and the Klingons, and all that stuff's going to happen. So, yeah. He's definitely privy to all of that. We also get we forgot to mention Kira went into the Gamma Quadrant with the Defiant, and she comes back, and Sisko wants to know what's going on. She says trouble.
And she just says trouble.
What'd you find, Major? Trouble.
Barney Rubble. Trouble.
I thought, okay, the other thing I found curious sometimes, because Kira gets quite a bit of like Defiant commanding in this two-parter. I don't know if that's because Worf's not there, or but she's like,
she gets it over Dax.
She gets it over Dax. She's a Bajoran officer. She is his first officer on the station, but like the fact that she's commanding the Defiant sometimes sticks out to me a little bit, because she's not a Starfleet officer. But on the other hand, neither was T'Pol on Enterprise or whatever, and so it seems it's not unprecedented. But that they give her quite a lot of agency here. They put Worf on this other path, as they'll continue to do for the next 2.5 seasons, where Worf is off and off with Martok, right, and not really involved with the Defiant as much going forward.
I think this is
we don't see Worf in command very often.
After this, or before this, yes. Like in season 4 and the first part of season 5, there was more of that with him and the Defiant. I don't know if I ever see him back in that chair again after this.
I do think this is the mistake, Dave. Like when it happens in the next episode, but like when Bajor signs the treaty with the Dominion, that is the moment I think Kira should have resigned the Bajoran militia and should have signed up with the Federation.
Joined up,
and then
like
I feel like I feel like they didn't do that because they wanted some good guy characters on the station.
Well, they wanted her and Ducat,
right? Because at the end of the season, they will take the station from them, right?
Yeah,
right. So, but that's the thing is, I think that's when they should have done the uniform change, and it would have made more sense to me.
But she wouldn't. Her and Odo couldn't have stayed behind if they had done that, right?
Right. That's what they wanted to do,
So I think that's why they never. I never understood when they finally do put her in the Starfleet uniform in season 7, and then they just take her out of it for the very last minutes of the finale. Right. I'm like, what?
Yeah, because she had been in that uniform the whole show, and that's why, So, but
I guess
anyway,
but that's not good enough reason anyway. But. Back to the penal colony.
Back to the penal colony. Okay, so we see the General Martok. That whole thing's revealed here, where he's fighting one of the Jem'Hadar guys, and it's not going well for Martok.
Frederick's getting beat up. I don't even know how Worf knew it was General Martok from so far away, and only seen him get his ass whooped by a Jem'Hadar, but he knew it was him for some reason. And he
the no eye thing might have been the kid.
But he didn't. He had 2 eyes when he was last seen on Kronos.
So how did he lose the eye in these fights?
Yeah, in these fights, he said he's like the first, the guy that Worf will fight at the end. Did this?
That must have sucked for the actor, to basically have to look at one eye all the time, and have that prosthetic over your eye.
I wonder if he's ever talked about that. Yeah, but basically he was like a one-eyed man for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Under a bunch of makeup as well.
Oh yeah. He would have had to have that over his eye all the time. Okay, so then we move on over to Garrick and Tane, and there's something wrong with Tane.
Yeah, there's some Paul Dooley.
Martok says he was convinced you would come. You know.
Yeah, I like some of these scenes. I like how he's like, Cardassians, they're clever people, man. They figured out how to turn this life support system into a transmitter. Who the hell would have figured that out? You know, like there's some mutual respect here, which is nice because the Cardassians are going to become kind of the villains. Like not all Cardassians, but the Cardassian state is going to become kind of
Dukat and the fact that he's running it. Yeah.
They're going to become the bad guys a little bit, right? Because we see all these Cardassians get to leave the camp, you know, in the middle of this because they're Dominion citizens now. So too bad for Nabrantane. He didn't make it that far. And you know,
Nabrantane should have died in that episode where he betrayed, or he was trying to.
Well, why do you think they brought him? They brought him back just to admit, like, oh yeah, he was your father, and there was this weird relationship. It's a lot of character development for Garrick, I think, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it was a reason for Garrick to want to go to the Gamma Quadrant,
right?
You know,
but I'm glad he dies here.
Yeah, they're like, we're bringing you back, but you're gonna be dead super quick. He's like, I thought I already was dead. All right, good. You know, so and then Dukat in the boardroom as they're kind of talking about the situation. This is the scene where Sisko mentions the recent Borg attack, so we can infer that first contact has now just happened. Yeah, right. Even though
that's where we are.
This aired sometime after that. This aired in like February of 97, whereas the movie came out in November of 96. So this is like 4 months later. But at that time, D Space Nine was still wearing the old uniforms. So we're kind of like the timelines are sort of getting synced up now. And Worf obviously survives First Contact, like the movie First Contact. Right. So, you know, I guess it even puts more stakes on him, right? That, you know, he might not make it out of this. He might die.
Yeah, they have to be careful with that. You're right. And they're setting up the big Dominion War here too. So like,
this is really the start of it, right?
Yeah, this is the start of a new show. Like, this is Garrick's going to be in this a lot more. Dukat, we're going to get
Martok,
and Weyoun. Yeah. Well, yeah. This is like almost a new cast.
It really becomes its own show from here on out because everything before was very episodic. It was like, okay, we got the O'Brien story, and then we got a Kira story, we the odd Dax story where we're using the Defiant to go to Trill, and like all these, like, it was kind of very cookie cutter. Now they really turn the show on its head.
Feels like there's some stakes and a real threat coming, right? Like they got it. There's a real issue here because the Dominion were set up all the way back in season 2, right?
Yes, and I do feel like they had to wait. I feel like for the Borg thing to happen because like the movie, because they needed to get Worf, and they like everything was planned out that way. I think, so I think I'm glad this episode mentions that because it makes a lot of sense for why everything kind of took a little while for them to get to this point.
Right. And what do you think about the whole plot here? They're like, okay, we're gonna collapse the wormhole. That's gonna be our thing. And Kira's not really down with it, but he's like, well, it's either we collapse the wormhole or you guys are going to get invaded by Jem'Hadar. Which one do you want to do, Major? He's like, the prophets, they're going to figure out how to talk to you.
Why couldn't the prophets just have done what they did like 2 seasons later and just zapped all those Jem'Hadar ships away? Like,
the prophets work in mysterious ways.
Right.
So
they're fickle. They're
fickle.
Yeah.
Non-linear beings. Yeah.
During the boardroom meeting, did they know what the Cardassians are doing yet?
No,
because Dukat walks in.
Because Dukat's there, and
Dukat's in the meeting. Yeah,
and Sisko says like he's here because
we need help. We need ships
or a Dominion attack affects Cardassia just as much as the rest of us.
Right, because if they attack us, they're right onto Cardassia, and then
Who got him that drink? Did he bring that with him? I didn't see him carry it into the room with him.
It's fitting for his Power Wraith ending. The same color.
But they're like, basically, we're not only going to collapse the wormhole, it's like kind of a final solution here, but we're also going to leave Garrick and Worf in the Gamma Quadrant.
Casualties of war.
Yeah. Whoop. Too bad, right?
That's right.
And they're like, well, what happens if the Dominion does come?
God help us all.
God help us all, says Sisko.
So like I'm surprised Dax, like, she's upset, but like she should be kind of like a little bit more like, I don't know, like I knew this was gonna happen, or like kind of like that kind of a thing. But I guess she has to be professional, and it's like it's a very militaristic meeting. But yeah,
Dax.
yeah, like she kind of just says, "What about Worf?" And then like they're like, "Okay,
Casualties of war, Jeff." And she's like, "All right, well, Worf." I think that when someone says Worf will get it. Don't worry, he'll understand.
Right, but she's just kind of like looks at him and goes, "All right, okay, dismissed." Like,
yeah.
Which doesn't seem. I feel like she should have been more pissed off. That's all. Anyway, then we get the big reveal here of the Bashir reveal here in the camp. They bring him in to the.
They're releasing him, and they're like, "Who? Our friend?" And then he shows up, Jeff, in the old uniform, just to help us really date things.
That is why, Dave. See, that proves my theory.
What?
He's wearing the old uniform.
Your theory didn't need proving. It wasn't a theory. It was already established.
When did they start wearing the new uniform?
Like about a month before this.
Right, but like, okay, what episode? What's
the
first
episode?
What was the first episode with the new uniform?
It was Rapture, which was episode 10. This is episode 14. So
it has to be before episode 10.
Correct.
So,
but not much before it.
Okay. I mean, that's left up to interpretation.
The episode before Rapture is The Ascent, which is the one where that's Quark and Odo going up the mountain together.
There's no way it was Changeling Bashir that went to Ryza.
No.
Just no fucking way.
No way.
There was no way it was Changeling Bashir in Trials and Tribulations?
No.
No. Not a chance.
No, like the Changeling Bashir would have been so bored by the whole going back in time to deal with Kirk and all this stuff. Like,
yeah. All right, whatever. Okay. Then we get, but Changeling Bashir, he's nice enough to bring a sandwich to O'Brien and Dax.
I think. Well, they did the blood screenings here first with like Breen don't have blood. We also learned quickly in this, but then there he is, Jeff. Now we know in that gray top uniform. It's Changeling Bashir.
I think he's looks like this the whole season. That face.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and he gets to play. He gets to play both from here on, which is really I find interesting to watch Alexander Siddig kind of deal that. Right,
Siddig's awesome. Like he's one of my favorite people to watch on this show because he's such a good actor, but his character, especially like the real Bashir, is so lame sometimes. And you're like,
especially early on,
yeah, especially early on, but he gets so much better once he gets into like the Section 31 stuff, and like they give him this, and they give him some really good stuff where you're like, okay, he gets to show off his chops.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then there he is. Look at that charm. Oh, where is it? I know he brought them a sandwich. I thought I took a picture of the sandwich.
It's like I think it's PB&J's.
It looked like I don't know. I thought I had a picture of that sandwich. Sorry, guys. Failed you, but this is kind of how he holds it out, at least. Yeah, and then Jeff, the next, like, again, we get another Ducat. I think there's too many Ducat and Zial scenes sometimes, but
there's a lot.
On looking back at this, like I'm like, again, he's trying to convince her, but this is like it makes the whole reveal, the whole turn on Ducat, which doesn't happen until the beginning of the next episode, right? So he's like, things are going to change on Cardassia, and she's like, what things?
What change? We're going to be even less accepting of Bajorans.
Yeah, we're going to be even worse than ever. Get ready, but I'll be in charge, so it will be okay.
Yeah, maybe as long as you're not around my family.
Yeah, well, it's kind of complicated. Anyway.
Listen to me, Zial. Just the way he talks to her every like sentence. It's just so condescending and demeaning to her. It's like, what do you expect her to do? Like
she's like, I'm not one of your soldiers. She's like, no, you're my daughter, which is even more. I guess maybe in Cardassian culture, that's even more of a precedent, right? Or more of a like a dominant thing. But yeah, and he kind of disowns her and walks away. He's like, "You're not my daughter anymore. You made your choice. Let you be damned." For Garrick,
Stay here and be damned.
stay here and be damned with the rest of them. Is what he kind of says, and he walks off.
Like,
You know?
I watched this thing on Netflix. It's like all about like the polygamy cult or whatever.
Yeah, I was trying to watch
LDS.
that too.
Right, and it's all about like, you know, basically subjugating women to like keep sweet and basically obey and pray and follow the men. It's like a complete cult, right?
Yeah,
And when I watch these scenes with Ducat, I'm like, he's very much the same. Like he's very, you know, it's this iron fist, obey me type attitude, but he still comes across as charming, and it's kind of what the cults do too. Like they that's how it works, you know. And I feel like the Cardassians especially hit like the militaristic kind of like attitude that he has towards controlling his family and his military and everything is very cult like, you know. So
But he wants love too. He's kind of very complicated.
oh yeah,
doesn't want love. He wants to be admired.
he wants to be adored. Yeah. Which, you know, again, you know, kind of falls in that line. So he's kind of like this religious figure in a way, which is, I think, kind of fitting for how they end his character.
You should see the monument they're erecting in my honor at the gateway to the Imperial Plaza.
Exactly. Okay, so we go back to the prisons, and we have Martok here, and Tane's dying, and yeah, we get the whole scene here with Garrick, and you know, Bashir's there, but he says, "Are you alone?" He says, "Yes," and then we get the whole, "I'm not your father." "No, you are. Father, don't lie." You know, we get
he's like, "Yeah, I'm alone," but Bashir's there. But don't forget that Breen is also there in the background sleeping.
I do like the all your enemies are dead. Like he's checking to make sure before he dies that all of his enemies are gone.
Yeah, he's like, that guy. He's like, years ago, took care of it. He's like,
took care of it years ago.
Yeah, they're all
the
dead.
Romulan ambassador.
He's gone. Gonzo. Doesn't matter. It's almost like it's like almost like two mobsters talking, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. That's a good way to put it. That they're a lot more mafioso type idea, that they live by code and it's more secretive, and you know, it's the life, you know, they're living the life, and you know, so like both Cardassians, you know, Garrick and Tane and Ducat, but they're very different, you know, in a way, as far as the way they go about
NZL, for that matter.
You know, yeah, NZL, control and power, and living their life the way they want to. Okay, so then an Abertane dies here, right?
Here he goes. That's him alive. This is him dead. Dead.
Alive, dead.
Dead.
Nice work, Dave.
Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm here for. I thought the scene with him and Garrick and Tane is good. It holds up to this day.
It holds up, and Andrew Robinson kind of carries it. But it works because you're like, oh, that's okay. That's why he cares so much about this Tane guy. It doesn't make any sense.
There's a lot more context to it, and like the fact that Bashir's there and gets to hear it all, I think is important. And you know, it's important for their relationship and dynamic moving forward, I think too.
Well, I think and that Garrick wanted him to hear it. Right? Like,
yeah, I guess it's like he trusts Bashir, the real. Right. Now that he knows this is the real Bashir, especially, I think that there's like Garrick doesn't trust many people.
No,
and he's willing to extend that to Bashir. Back in ops.
Yes,
they're preparing to collapse the wormhole, but there's that shifty saboteur, changeling Bashir. You know, and. He's like, let's do it. I've totally rigged everything. Don't worry. Yeah. And then they go for it. And then Sparks.
Bashir. I mean, O'Brien's okay. Other people maybe not.
They're okay for now, but
yeah,
you know, he's like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, not only did it not collapse the wormhole, nothing could ever collapse it. Now we made it 10 times stronger. I'm like, it had the exact opposite effect of what they were trying to do. And then here come the locusts. They'll destroy Bajor, Jeff.
Why did they need? Okay, that's the whole thing here. Why did they need the runabout to do it? You know, if they could have just like sent a bunch of ships and they don't care about preserving their lives. They're all about sacrifice to Jem'Hadar. They could have accomplished this whole Bajoran sun exploding supernova thing with just the Jem'Hadar ships. They didn't.
Yeah, they could have sent like 5 of them at Bajor, at the sun.
I guess maybe they thought that the Federation would stop them. They had to do it sneaky.
Yeah, I guess they felt like they had to do it sneaky. They couldn't. Constable Odo's security protocols too hard to get around.
Yeah,
we all know that that's bullshit.
Because this would have killed Odo. Odo also would have been killed in this, right?
Yes. Which no changeling's ever harmed another,
except unless it's.
Do they know though? Do they know at this point that he's a changeling still?
Yes, because changeling Bashir knows, and
I guess right.
But would changeling and Bashir have died in this too?
Yes.
So he was willing to sacrifice himself. So I guess from that logic, well, Odo's just another sacrifice in saving in their minds and saving the Dominion and saving the founders from these evil Alpha Quadrant solids or whatever. So
right.
Here they come. And it's scary, man. You felt like this threat was real. Yeah.
But none of that is real. They're all a hologram.
No, those are real ships.
No, I thought at the end of the second episode you find out this is all bullshit.
No, these ships are real.
Okay, but where did they go?
To Cardassia.
To Cardassia, right?
Yeah. And this is the end of the first episode. To be continued. And then we pick up exactly from there.
Last time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and now the conclusion.
Here we go. Now we're in the second part. They're getting ready to fight. They're Kira's the Defiant. Everyone get ready. Stay in formation. Ducat's got his bird of prey. They're all going into this fight here. It's like you thought we were gonna get this amazing underdog battle with the station and just a couple runabouts. And the Defiant and Ducat's bird of prey. We're going to this battle here, and you're like, "There's no way they're gonna do this." But I was getting excited here, and then all of a sudden, they're like,
"Yeah."
O'Brien's like, no, they're going to Cardassia, man. Like they're turning and going the other way. And Ducat then joins the fleet, and then this whole conversation here, where
I'm not attacking the Dominion fleet. I'm joining it.
Yeah. She's like, what the hell?
I love here though. She's like, she has strict orders not to fire except under Cisco's orders. But then as soon as she finds out that Ducat has betrayed them, she's like, fucking kill him.
Dax is like, sorry, too slow on the controls. But he not only does he betray them, but he it's like this amazing, it's almost like a wrestler heel turn monologue where he's going here, and he's like,
Cardassia has agreed to become part of the Dominion.
And just
you and I on the same side. It never seemed quite right, did it?
She's like, blow them up, see you later. And Dax like, sorry.
See, like the way he talks to Ducat, like where he's like, Cardassia decided. It's like Cardassia didn't decide shit. Like you did it. You were having this.
How did he pull this off? Here's the real question: is how does Ducat pull this off?
He convinces the high ups in Cardassia that, because they're all about being strong. Like they mentioned this all throughout the show, that Cardassia feels like they're like, fourth on the totem pole, even in their like area of the Alpha Quadrant, and they want to be a more dominating force throughout the Alpha Quadrant.
Right.
And the only way they can do that is with the Dominion's help.
But they were anti-Dominion. They had joined with the Romulans to attack the Dominion, right? Yes. Obviously the Dominion was not, where the founder in the last season was like, "You're dead. Cardassian's dead. We're gonna kill you all. Don't worry." And Ducat completely turns that around for them somehow. He was disgraced. He was running some bird of prey. Like he wasn't even like important on Cardassia anymore. And he goes from being sort of this nobody washout, disgraced guy to being this guy who brokers this deal, becomes the new head of the Cardassian government.
I think there's a lot of analogies to like a Hitler. Like, he kind of comes out of nowhere here and kind of seizes power and uses like other armies and other ideas to kind of take that, basically like with Hitler, same thing. It was like make Germany strong again. It's the same thing with Cardassia. We are weak, and when we should be strong. He says that throughout the show, So it's a lot of those same motifs I find with Dukat.
Cardassia will be made whole.
Yeah,
they're getting it back.
And like, and the thing is, like, he doesn't care about relationships or people, other than his daughter. For some reason, it's the only person he seems to actually care about as a person.
But he's got like 8 other kids,
and
he mentions this one son who had a birthday.
And and though, if his daughter disappoints him in any way, she can be damned.
Yeah, you can be damned with the rest of them. I can make more kids. Don't worry, and I will.
I almost killed you when I first met you. Don't you remember?
Yeah, I remember when I just barely didn't kill you. It was such a noble act.
Why she even has a conversation with this guy? I don't know.
She's so cheery with him, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but back in the camp, hey, that Breen woke up. He's chilling.
Well, literally, they like it cold.
Yeah, they got
that Breen's the hero of the episode.
Yeah, he ends up being the guy who saves the day. Don't turn your back on a Breen. So he's like this background character that we don't think means anything until the exact right moment.
I always thought, like, when I first watched this episode, I was like, oh, the Breen's going to be somebody in disguise, or
right,
but that wasn't the case.
Why don't they have any blood?
I think they're like kind of like insect things.
No, I thought they were like wolves or something.
Are they really? Oh god.
Is that like, you look at that mask, like they have a big snout.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah,
we never get the answer to that question.
If they were wolves, they would have blood.
They would have, that's what I was like. Why don't they have blood? And
I feel like they're insects of some kind.
Yeah, we never see one without their suit on. But like that whole thing where when they found Zial the first time and Kira and Dukat like took those suits off those other Breen, we never got to see that, but presumably they did. Anyway.
The Breen are cool. Like they could have done a few more like stories about the Breen, but they never did.
They kind of stick them in at the end of this show, like as make them another Dominion power. But Anyway, but just as we're going through here, okay, we got to get the transmitter going. They kind of come up with their escape plan. We're gonna get the runabout back. Why is that runabout just parked outside of the asteroid?
So
it doesn't make any sense why the Jem'Hadar would just leave it there on like sort of autopilot or whatever, but they do supposedly.
But it kind of becomes like a Prison Break episode. That's how they set up this episode. Is like, Worf's gonna have to go fight every Jem'Hadar while we, dig our way out of here. You know, and they.
I love the whole thing with like we got to get the ratchet thing right, and we got to open up this panel and pull this thing out and go through this conduit, and it's like the whole Prison Break of it all. You really like feel that effect. I like some of the shots in this episode and how they all kind of come together, like especially the whole claustrophobia thing that Garrick goes through as he has to. We find out Garrick's the only one with enough engineering expertise to do this job.
Yeah.
Not, I guess they didn't teach that at Starfleet Academy for Worf, where he said, I'm a graduate of Starfleet Academy. I know many things. Well, not how to do that.
I'm a graduate of Starfleet Academy. I know many things.
Not as many things as Garrick does, apparently.
So confident. I know many things. So that's kind of like they set up the premise of what's going to happen, but then they bring them out into like the main courtyard here, all the prisoners, and they inform them that the Cardassians and the Dominion have come together and created a treaty, and all these Cardassian prisoners are free to go as they are now Dominion citizens, except you, Garrick.
Yeah, he goes because Bashir gives him that look like, go on, go become a Dominion citizen and see if you can get us the hell out of here. And Garrick, I have it here.
The last time I checked, I was a Cardassian, but not a very popular one, I'm afraid.
Not a very popular Cardassian. Sorry.
And then he goes, why? He goes, because Gul Dukat's in charge. He goes, oh shit.
Oh shit. Just like the look on his face. Yeah. He's like, you got me. And then we're on Cardassia, Jeff, with the Dukat stuff.
I always love these speeches. There's always two Cardassians watching from a balcony.
Yeah. And like TVs everywhere. Just there's
Yeah.
TVs all around Cardassia.
The Dominion recognizes us for what we are, the true leaders of the Alpha Quadrant.
It is actually a lot like the Nazi episode of
original series.
Because
Yeah.
that's the TVs everywhere and they're watching the speeches. It's very reminiscent of that.
It's very reminiscent, and it's got a lot of the same like ominous feelings, and where the people just kind of buy in, and they look up, they're looking up to the TV, and the so it's
so many of like the Star Trek writing staff, like Rick Berman, Ira Stephen Bear, Robert Hewitt Wolf, like there so many of these guys are Jewish, and so I feel like for them, like post Holocaust and everything else, they're like we're tapping into all of this for our show, right? Like,
which makes sense, like that those themes, and it's not even that old history. I mean, it's really recent.
For them, it was only 50 years ago, which I guess the whole 50-year occupation and whatever, like it's not that long ago. And just like, and Dukat being very much a Hitler character.
Cardassia will be made whole. All that we have lost will be ours again. And anyone who stands in our way will be destroyed.
The one thing they don't show with Cardassia as much is like giant crowds and him being adored. Like they don't show that as much. It's more
three guys here on the street, two guys on a balcony,
but they're just kind of listening. They're kind of like, okay, they're not like, there's not a lot of like praise to him, and like,
we see like a little bit of like they use this. I think they use this stock footage of like somebody like a few times, like of this. I don't know if this was the first time or not, but it's always just like Cardassians are like nodding at each other. They're just like, kind of happy with whatever's being said,
right? Because they're all suspicious of each other. Nobody's actually friends,
right? Like, why does he have power? I want power. It's very So it's like it's got a bit of Rome mixed in there with it too. But at the same time, like they really laid on thick with the it's very German, and it has a lot of those motifs of at the end of World War I, the 1930s, really.
Yeah. This I vow with my life's blood.
This I vow with my life's blood. For my son, for all our sons.
Whose birthday was in 5 days, or
our daughter be damned.
Yeah.
See you later. Get the Cardassian symbol here. And then they're like, this is a bad, but like Changeling Bashir, I love how he's the one. We need more blood screenings, guys.
Looks like it's time for another round of blood screenings. Obviously, we have a Changeling infiltrator on the station.
Obviously.
Which is why he infiltrated him, because he was the one that was going to best
administer
the test. To detect him. So that's why he was chosen. So like I'm glad they did that, because it explained why they chose Bashir. Because like why would
he's been able to get away with it?
Yeah, like it's like because if he had chosen like O'Brien or somebody like that, I think it would have been more noticed. Because also Julian's single. He doesn't really have a connection to really anybody except like O'Brien. That's why it's like you didn't notice.
He's like, okay, your mission is you're gonna have to go play darts with O'Brien sometimes. Whatever. I can do it.
I can do it. I can bring them sandwiches.
Right. And he'd already broken up with Lita, right? Before the whole switcheroo. So even that was out of the question. He didn't even have to go on dates with Lita. Anyway, so
and he even mentions like there's probably a changeling on the station, and and he's like, how do you know that? He's like, well, I would send one.
I would send one because I am one.
Yeah.
Whoever smelt it dealt it. That's the rule.
Okay, so then they go back to the prison camp here, and Garrick is in the tunnel thing, and he's got no air, bad lighting, he's got random electric shocks, he's
talking to himself.
He's not happy, that
this would make a wonderful interrogation chamber.
Of course he would look at it that way, right? Like that's kind of his character, is to kind of look like he has this sadistic kind of humor to him, where he always kind of looks at it in the darkest way. You know,
he tries to find a bright side weirdly about things, or tries to like look at on the optimistic side. But he's like, do you want to switch places with me, Bashir? He's like, yeah, I could take over in like 6 weeks when you teach me field engineering or whatever. I was like, do you guys, you don't like take one class in this or like learn the basics? Apparently not. You know, even though he's a super smart, genetically enhanced man, which we're going to find out in the very next episode. Right. So
I think that's probably why they didn't do it, because they didn't want to like give away that reveal, you know.
Yeah, lots of Bashir reveals in this season. So
yep, Bashir it does well in this season. Okay, so yeah, Garrick's not liking it though. So
they have to like leave him in there, right? Well, when this is so they send Worf on the and they have to cover it up.
It's time.
It's time. I'm ready. No, they like it feels like they're like Worf seems excited for this. Like he's like, I'm happy to go fight.
Oh yeah,
Jem'Hadar.
He's like, I get to fight Jem'Hadar. Fuck yeah!
I get to kill without remorse and without penalty from the Federation
or from the Dominion, for that matter. You know, so.
I killed my own brother. Fuck these guys.
Yes, they drag him off. That one part where Bashir just has to cover up like the metal thing they used to open the panels with his foot. I liked too. I was like, that's one way of hiding it. Yeah, but they can't let Garrick out because like the guards are too close for this whole part.
Yeah, there's lots of little touches throughout this episode that I really like, and I always really enjoy like the idea of like a prison break type thing. Like, you know, a lot of my favorite movies are, you know, Shawshank and the Escape from Alcatraz, and a lot of these movies deal with these motifs of like tension, and I think this episode really pays homage to that really well. You know, so we also get this combat aspect too, where like Worf basically has to lay his body on the line for the group so they can get to work and figure out a way out of here. You know,
this is where Martok's like, yeah, this is his handiwork. The guy you're eager to fight, like the main leader guy. Don't get, you know, this guy. You know, he's sick, and he's like, soon we're gonna be fighting Klingons, so let's just study this. You know,
observe.
Victory is life. Victory is life.
Today is a good day to die. You know, it's you get both cultures. You get to see the Jem'Hadar and the Klingons kind of face off, which the Jem'Hadar say in this episode how much they were really excited about. You know, just
having another Klingon,
yeah, because they just love combat.
But don't the Klingons love it back? Like, aren't they kind of made for each other in some ways? Like, you know,
but the Jem'Hadar have no honor.
Well, I get that, but like at least they like a fight, and the Klingons like a fight. So,
although I feel like they do have honor in their.
They even allude to it in this episode when the Jem'Hadar is talking to the Vorta. And the Vorta's like, why does he keep fighting? Like, why does he? And he's like, I like fighting. He goes, yeah, but you were genetically engineered that way. He just does it for honor. And he goes, something you would never understand.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Vorta have no honor, but the Jem'Hadar kind of do. But at the end of the day, they'll follow orders.
They have a code.
Yeah. Right.
And so do the Klingons. I think they mutually respect each other. And that's really what
want to kill each other.
It's like two boxing, combatants, and then you get like Martok's like the Mickey.
He's the Mickey. Rocky. He's like, you know, especially then he's like, I'm gonna throw the towel in. He's like, don't you dare.
Yeah. Come on, Worf.
Right. And they know that Garrick's been in there too long, right? While this is all happening, and finally they get him out of there, but it's.
Well, I like that Worf, you know, he takes down the first guy and he goes, that's the best you got. He was like, that was our least experienced and youngest.
Yeah, he beats this guy with like a tomahawk chop here or something, right? Like, does he kill this guy?
Oh, yeah, he kills all these guys. He snaps necks. Like, you know, it's pretty, like, they make him a pretty bloodthirsty murderer because he's not like killing them in self-defense. Like, he's killing them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they won't yield either?
I don't even think he cares. He's like, I'm just in a circle, you know.
He's not asking them to yield.
Right. Because you have to the way this game works, you're in the circle, and if you fall down, you have to touch the thing or you forfeit the match. But you could just stay down and not die.
Will they just kill you after? Like, why does what is?
Well, obviously Martok's been in a lot of these fights, and clearly he didn't win them all. So it seems like you can just kind of go, I give up, and that's fine. But Worf will never do it. I guess most Jem'Hadar wouldn't do it either. So because they're just built for that. They don't even sleep. Like they're like, if I victory is life, right? So
okay, all right. Let's move on to the Kira Ziyal scene.
Always liked this scene because I think it's really interesting how the way Kira sees it, right? He's just like, she's like, first of all, your father's full of shit.
Right now, I wouldn't believe your father if he said rain was wet.
And she's like, well, I always thought he was a good guy, and he had his reasons for doing things. And she says, yeah, like that's what's frightening.
Everyone has their reasons. That's what's so frightening. People can find a way to justify any action, no matter how evil.
You think Ducat's evil? Well, first of all, yes. But she's like, listen, like at the end of the day,
You can't judge people by what they think or say, only by what they do.
I think that is a great point because that is so true. Actions speak way louder than words. People can say whatever they want. Really it comes down to what they do. And when you team up with a group that's willing to, blow up a sun to completely wipe out an entire solar system, say that's
mass genocide.
It's pretty unforgivable. And I don't think it can be talked out of. I don't care how much convincing or how you view that person can really justify it or even make you understand it.
Well, I think like you look at Kira's past and what she did, right? She obviously she did some bad things for good reasons, but I think
that's the difference.
She's even kind of talking about herself a little bit, I think, in some ways.
Yes.
Right? Like, how are you going to judge me? I can tell you it's because of this or that or whatever, but you can judge me for my actions as well, just like Ducat. Especially I think with guys like Ducat and Garrick for that matter, who are such smooth talkers who can kind of, or Quark even, or these various characters who are on this show who are so good at like spinning things and are selling you this narrative. But Kira sees through all of it. Like Kira's like, at the end of the day, it comes down to what you do,
what you fight for too. Like for Kira was a resistance fighter. She was fighting against an occupying force that was basically subjugating her entire race of people. Right. And so for her to blow up something, or it was for a worthy cause in her mind, and and probably in reality when you're resisting something. But when you are the oppressor or you are the instigator of a conflict, it's very, very different.
For 50 years, you raped our planet and you killed our people. You lived on our land and you took the food out of our mouths, and I don't care whether you held a phaser in your hand or you ironed shirts for a living. You were all guilty and you were all legitimate targets.
Right. And I think a big part of that is kind of like, even like during the occupation, was there a main like Hitler-like figuguread?
Was Ducat for part of it, but not for the beginning. Obviously, he's too young for that.
Right, he's too young, right? So, like, however it started, it must have started through some sort of ideology or like why they wanted to take over this place, and so it kind of always happens that way. It seems like, but that's the thing. Like, I agree with Kira that you can't judge them on what they say or what. Even if they feel like they have the best intentions, they don't,
Well, she's talking all the collaborators on Bajor, who we met a couple of them in the show, where these were people who would like sign the death warrants, right, for their own people because they thought to keep themselves safe or to help themselves. But like at the end of the day, you're kind of complicit.
Yeah. So okay, let's move on to Gowron. Gowron shows up.
The Klingons are here, and they want to dock.
Whoa!
Whoa! Worf's not here. Worf's not home, Gowron. So,
this is a glorious day.
We see the burnt hand, so you get when he says this is a dark day. Gowron says
this is a dark day.
This is a dark day. We have to get out of here. Being treated by Changeling Bashir throughout this whole thing, which is great. And he's like, well, what are you going to do?
Prepare for a fight to the death.
Gowron doesn't seem to have any luck. He had the changeling Martok, now he's got changeling Bashir, tending to him here. He doesn't seem to, wherever he goes, there's some changeling,
Yeah, you can't. Odo was messing with him earlier on in the season.
Yeah,
but
basically the gist of this scene is Cisco comes to him and says, "Hey, why don't we? What is it? The Khitomer Accords?"
He's like, remember that whole peace treaty that basically like I was kind of partly responsible for. My crew was responsible for torching. Because we found out what you were up to, going to invade Cardassia and all that. He puts it in front of Gowron, and he's like, "It's dead." And he's like, "Well, we can bring it back to life again." And he's like, and then we could stand united. And Gowron's like, "Yeah, maybe."
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. He's like, "Why die slow when we could die quick?"
Right. Even it's changeling Bashir who helps convince him here.
Yeah, like a bunch of
he
time.
wants them all in the same place.
Because he wants them all in the same place, so he can blow them up. That's all. It's like the genius plan here that almost worked.
Yeah, and he didn't even have to like maybe he did, but it didn't seem like he had to ask Cisco to do this. Like it just kind of fell in his lap.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess they were kind of like almost like predicting. Okay, when we do this, then we'll attack the Klingons, and then they'll probably retreat over here, and maybe they'll make up with the Federation, and then we can, and the Romulans showing up, I think, was just like bonus for them.
Which is why they immediately just went to Cardassia and didn't attack the station.
Yeah,
because you're right. I think they planned ahead. They knew that they're gonna get the Klingons to come, and then there was. Yeah, I agree. It was definitely a well laid plan.
Why? My only question is, why didn't the Dominion want the wormhole collapsed? Because they could have collapsed it, and then like their whole issue with the Alpha Quadrant would be done too, right? Like when that served them.
Well, it seems now they're just pissed off. They want the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, they're conquerors. I think they're a bunch of they lie to themselves that we just want to live in solitude and be left alone. And they're liars. They lie to themselves about that. They're conquerors.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
think we see enough evidence.
It's part of their mythology is they're always bringing order, right? And that's what tyrants do. They always say the same thing. We're bringing order.
Yeah, under our
system. The trains run on time,
which is very much like the Cardassians. It made a lot of sense for the Dominion and the Cardassians to align because they have the same philosophies.
Yeah. He holds it out here, and I like, great line here from Gowron.
5 years ago, no one had ever heard of Bajor or Deep Space Nine, and now all our hopes rest here.
All our hopes rest here.
Where the tides of fortune take us, no man can know.
Where the tides of fortune can take us, no man can know, Jeff. What is that? I don't think Cisco knows either. He goes, they're tricky, those tides.
I think he's just saying like God knows what's going to happen next. Like nothing is predictable now, to the Klingons and the Federation. I mean, a year ago they were going to kill each other, and now all of a sudden they're going to be teamed. Like they're going to be on the same side. They're going to be allies. Like
they were literally killing each other. Remember that episode with Jake? He's and everything else. Like there was a short and bloody war, but and Gowron doesn't even have to ask another Klingon if this is a good idea. He just signs the agreement. He makes it here with Cisco. It's quite something, really. They just kind of shoehorn it into this episode. And Cisco's just a captain. He's not like an ambassador. He's not like a president or anything. He's just.
But to get this
he is the emissary.
He is the emissary. But yeah.
But to get this, you're right, Dave, from the leader of the Klingon Empire to agree to this alliance. I'm sure a lot of the people at Starfleet headquarters would be like ecstatic.
You think so? Yeah, because like he basically negotiated this in like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Yeah, he does. It is impressive. And it is like Cisco sounded in this stuff a lot, but this is a good Cisco scene for sure.
Gowron looks impressed.
Gowron's like, good move, man. This was a power move. I like it.
He's like, yes.
Where the tides of fortune take us, no man can know.
Okay, so then we go back to the prison camps here, and
just the look here. But don't forget about that look. The look we get here from Changeling Bashir right after this happens, and then we go to the runabout pad, and we see Changeling Bashir has got his evil shit. He's doing things.
He's moving chips from one slot to another slot, and so he's up to something no good. Yes. Okay. So then we go back to the prisons, and Worf is, still fighting guys. This guy tries to do some sort of a grab his heart out of his chest move. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Worf does like the whole like,
Worf snaps his neck. Well, he snaps his neck.
Matches and 5 victories.
5 matches and 5 victories.
Oh, I love how impressed Martok is.
You truly have the spirit of Kahless within you.
The spirit of Kahless.
And then like the Jem'Hadar guys are just like, until tomorrow. Okay, you gotta fight another guy. Worf's like, I'll be waiting.
I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
Yes,
Sure
you
you
will too. Yeah, then so Bashir's checking him out. He's like, you got like 5 broken ribs, a punctured lung. Like you can't keep fighting guys to the death. Are you nuts?
Yeah, Martok's like, screw that shit.
Bandage his ribs.
Bandage the ribs. Let's get on with the show. This is how we do it.
He's like, you're gonna die if you keep doing it. He says like,
does this fight really help Garrick get his work done faster or not?
Yeah, it's because it distracts the Jem'Hadar. The Jem'Hadar are not worried about them in the prison in their cell. They're more worried about the next fight and watching Worf and analyzing and all that stuff. So that's kind of why I think it works. Because that's the Jem'Hadar are way more interested in that than making sure the Breen guy doesn't get out.
Yeah. Because they kind of not interested enough to move that runabout far enough away that it could at least at a transporter range.
Well, yeah, that's a jump the shark, Deus Ex Machina type thing. But anyway, so Bashir goes in to check in on Garrick, who's he's having a hard time in there. He's basically in a tight little corridor. It's hot. It's dark.
You start hearing all the noise because his light goes out. He's talking to his light. He's like, I can't have you quitting on me and blah, blah, blah. Right. Goes out here. They're like, he's making too much noise. And I like how every time they have to open up this panel, there's like a system that they have to go through. And Bashir goes in and gets them. And just like Andrew Robinson again, like great. There's like a couple things they play out here with his PTSD or whatever around it, his claustrophobia. Love the way this is shot too, just with like the 3 looking over him and him wiped out. And they're like he's remarkable that he even did it as much as he did, but they're like, we're kind of screwed without him. If we don't have Kane's dead now and he's not doing well, so. And he's apparently, I guess the Breen or those Romulans are also not engineers, so they can't do it either.
Which creates stakes. Like it makes it seem like they might not get out of this. Like it really, like that's what's good about this episode, that it feels like, it's not just gonna get, they're gonna get it, which they do, get out of there just in the nick of time. But it feels like they could be there for a while, like, which I enjoy. I like the way they.
It almost does feel like they're there for a while because like they set up the prison in the first part, and then they're there for this whole episode basically, and we're going there so often. And it's not it's not a big place, so you feel it. More Klingon stuff. They're like, we need more secure. Kira talks about the whole like somebody replicated something. We know it's Changeling Bashir, but they don't know it. He's like, get Gowron to help Odo guard everything, and he's like, Klingons helping to protect Deep Space Nine. Who would have thunk? Klingons are our friends. Dukat's our enemy. Things that yesterday is not the same as today, and right, the whole thing about this being a whole new show, really comes to pass here. I think
they're recognizing and they know that this is the transition point. We also get so Gul Dukat is hailing Sisko. He wants to talk to him.
Yeah, this is their first of the 2 conversations that they have.
Show little respect. You are talking to the head of the Cardassian government.
Yeah,
I don't recognize that government. It just doesn't even.
I don't recognize that government.
Your recognition is irrelevant.
Your recognition is irrelevant.
Which we know is bullshit. That's all Dukat wants from Cisco.
Is the recognition.
He's like, if that's true, why are we
having this conversation?
You know.
Oh yeah.
He's like, gives him a chance. He's like, why did you get the Federation to join the Dominion?
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's his pitch.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, they'll still be in good shape, you know. It won't be as strong, but you know, the Cardassian will be in charge, but you won't be totally eradicated. You know,
He says, I'm doing this because you saved my life a couple times, and I'm gonna offer. This is me throwing you a bone, basically.
Yeah, you will be. He's basically saying, if you don't join us or die. Like if you don't join us, you're going to be in the midst of history. Is like what he says.
Yeah.
You know, so you know.
Cisco's having none of it, of course. You know, where is Cisco here?
Why are we having this?
Oh, where I played that one? No, it's this one.
If you have something to say to me, say it.
Well, and then I love the little like retort they have about the space station. He's like, you know, that was Cardassians once, it will be again. It was built by Cardassians. He's like, that's funny. I thought it was built by Bajoran slave labor. You know?
That space station you're so fond of was built by Cardassia.
Funny. I thought it was built by Bajoran slave labor.
If you want to retake this,
If you want to retake this station, you are welcome to try.
yeah, he's like, come get it, come get it. Like he's just throwing it down here.
Not backing down. Yeah, it's what you want, which is what you want from your captain. And there's only a few scenes with Cisco in these 2 episodes, but the ones that are really good.
Him and Ducat always strong, and this is some of the best of these two. In this second half, especially of this.
Okay, so then we're back in the prison planet, and you know, on the asteroid, and Garrick decides, you know, he's going.
Well, Worf's had another 7 battles.
right. I forgot about that.
7 battles and 7 victories. What hero of legend could have done as well?
And then he's like, I'm going to make sure the best song guy on Kronos will write you a glorious.
He will write a song worthy of you.
Says, I'll get them to mention you, Bashir. Even you're the healer.
The healer that bound the warrior's wounds so he could fight again.
He's loving like Worf being slowly murdered. It's way too much.
It's like porn for him. He's like, this is great. I'm out of the fights and he's in there and I get to be his trainer. It's even better.
Yeah. He's like, I get to know the story, tell the story to others.
And then he's like, Worf's like, we need a verse in the song about how we're going to escape or what the hell we're going to do. Because if we can't get it, and Garrick's like, don't worry, I got this.
After all, a verse about the Cardassian who panicked in the face of danger would ruin General Martok's song.
Right.
That would be unfortunate.
That would be unfortunate.
That's why he gets up. It's the song.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about Garrick. Okay.
Goes in here. And then they're like, but the whole thing where even Martok and Worf are impressed here by Garrick's bravery.
There is no greater enemy than one's own fears.
It takes a brave man to face them.
Takes a brave man to face them. Yeah, like Worf and Garrick grow a little bit here too. You know. Changeling Bashir up to no good.
Yeah, and O'Brien comes in, and this is like the one scene where you think O'Brien might still
figure it out,
notice something's wrong. He's the closest person to Bashir on the station. He doesn't even
no clue.
He's not even thinking about it.
He's what the fuck are you talking about darts for?
Yeah.
He's like, I got some darts. He's like, darts.
He's like, things are gonna turn out for the best. Some of the things he says to him, it's just like, how do you not recognize something's wrong with him? You know,
he's nice. He was nicer than you. And we found out Keiko and Molly and Kiriyoshi have gone to Bajor as well, so they would have been killed as well in this attack. Everyone would have been dead, Jeff. He just goes back to work here at the end of the scene too, like nothing. And quick scene here with Zial and Quark too.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin.
The Jem'Hadar don't eat, don't drink, and they don't have sex. And if that wasn't bad enough, the founders don't eat and don't drink.
And they don't have sex either.
But then Ziao's like, what about the Vorta? They could be, gluttonous sex maniacs.
For all we know, the Vorta could be gluttonous, alcoholic sex maniacs.
I never thought of that.
How delighted he is, too.
Doesn't care that everyone might die or the conquerors. He's like, I could sell things.
All these friends he made might die, but he's like, maybe the border will be fun.
They'll be my new customers. Got to restructure my business model, and then he just walks off, and that's it. That's it for Quark. Quark has that. He breaks up the fight with Dukat and Garrick earlier in the first part, and then he has this conversation with Zial. That's it. He's kind of peaceful. And then they mentioned that this Starfleet task force is on its way quickly here. The Admiral Galhuli or whatever is coming. We never see that Admiral or that task force much.
No. Okay, back to the prison planet, or the asteroid. We have the scene that you alluded to earlier, Kevin, where the Vorta is like, what motivates him is some barbaric sense of honor and something you'll never understand. And then we get the most worthy opponent of Jem'Hadar to say he's gonna fight him. So it's like, oh, showdown. The Elder or whatever his name.
He's like the first.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Worf looks like excited and scared.
Well, it's kind of cheap. I mean, he's made him fight 7 guys, and then he's like, "Okay, I'll take
more than that." It was like 1 on the first day, 5 on the second day, 7 on the third day. So
what? I thought it was just 7 total victories.
No, it was like just 7 that day. After he already had 6 broken ribs.
Oh, I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah.
He's killing lots of just snapping necks left and right.
He's snapping necks all over the place. He's like he's going hard. Worf, this is like Worf's one of his moments, one of his peak moments of life, I'd say. It was this whole thing he went through here.
Yeah.
He's like, you're fighting me, and then let's do it. Today is a good day to die. Victory is life. Like they're just like this is the ultimate showdown. Everything's been building to this as far as Worf's story has been going.
Yes.
And back in here.
Okay, so then they go back to the cell, and they're looking for Garrick somehow, right?
Well, yeah, Garrick's working away, work faster. Worf's just getting the shit kicked out of him, basically.
Yes, he is.
And then they warn that the guards are coming. So not all the Jem'Hadar were distracted by this fight because a few Jem'Hadar show up to find Garrick so they can kill him.
Right.
And then they beat Bashir to the ground here. These guys they didn't need to see the cage fight with Worf and the first.
No. It's just convenient to create tension, I guess.
And speed up the ending, right? Because we need to get this going here. And they start searching things and they find the whatever it is. What is it, Bashir? I think it's
either a self-sealing stem bolt or a reverse ratcheting router. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, and then they shoot the Romulan guy, and they're like, "She's next."
that comes after. Because at first, they're like, launch the runabouts, right? And we see this runabout, which is from the pilot, I think.
The mighty tough runabouts.
Yeah. But we see it's Changeling Bashir. He's taken over the runabout, Yukon specifically. And presumably these guys are all dead.
Yes.
He's killed the original crew of the Yukon. And somehow this, I guess in all the confusion with the amount of ships they had flying around and everything else, this runabout just kind of gets away and they don't really notice it.
Yeah. Would you think there would be, I guess he does, he goes through the permissions to get out of there. He fakes the voice and he does that whole deal.
Right. And the Romulans show up, Jeff. Don't forget that.
Right, and the Romulans.
That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And why do the Romulans show
up? Because they know that they'll be on the hit list. Right. So they were going to make a stand here with the Klingons and the Federation, which they'll go on to do. They'll become the alliance that will end the war. Right.
Yeah.
So there's always kind of that in being set up, and maybe they never had to do in the Pale Moonlight, and bring them into the war. But it's still, it makes sense because the Romulans are distrustful. Okay, so yeah, we go back, and Worf is still getting his ass kicked.
No, but don't forget this guy gets shot. You wanted to talk about that.
Yes, he gets shot, and then they just seem to want to kill the Romulans.
I literally got the screenshots I got. It's like boom, 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 boom.
Vaporized.
It didn't look like a good. It looked like it happened faster than that. But they just kill him. And they're like, uh-oh, and he's like, she's next. But they don't. Neither of them break. Here, they both know they have to keep quiet. And then somehow this Jem'Hadar figures out that I have to open this specific panel with this thing. He figures out what the metal thing is for, and that this bed has to move. Like, it's a little bit convenient, but going in. Yeah, here Garrick turns off the light, and then more Worf ass kickery. I just this where he's like,
it's a good shot of Martok.
Martok's like, stay down, man. I'm in your corner, man, and it's over. He's like, I will not yield.
No, he will not.
He keeps getting up. He can barely stand, and this guy just keeps knocking the crap out of him, but like slowly. Could be more harsh on him. And this whole thing where they're looking in there, I don't see anything, and then the Breen. This is what you said earlier, Kevin. The Breen is like the hero of the episode.
Yeah.
He pulls out the gun, shoots the Jem'Hadar, then shoots another Jem'Hadar.
These two shoot each other.
Yeah, it's is this an homage to Star Wars? You think?
A little bit. Yeah, it's just like it all. They vaporize each other very quickly.
I mean, their Britain helmets are definitely an homage.
Don't forget, Bashir pulls out this knife too, and he like totally stabs this guy in the heart.
But the whole who shot first, Han's fault, that's kind of where I that's the feeling I got from it a bit.
I think the Breen shot first, but just barely.
Yes, he did. Okay, and then Garrick basically figures it out in the nick of time and gets them beamed off.
But he's like, you got how many we got left? 3 left, and he's like, you better hurry up because they're gonna come in here and kill us all very shortly.
Do they beam out? They do beam out the Romulan lady. Yeah, so they save her.
They save her. This is where like Worf keeps getting up, and like the Vorta's just like, kill him. What's wrong with you? He's like, I can't. Like to the whole honor thing.
Yes.
They really try to go out of their way to show us that the Jem'Hadar are a little bit more complex.
Yeah,
and they don't just follow orders.
Like when the Jem'Hadar just goes and puts his hand on Worf's shoulder, and he's like, "That's enough. Like, it's enough. Just stay down.
Stay down." And the Vorta's like, "No, man, that's not how we roll."
Yeah.
And
then he makes that announcement. I cannot defeat this Klingon. I can only kill him, and that no longer holds my interest.
Right. And the Vorta's just disgusted. He's like, kill them both. Like, screw this shit. Right. And this is right when Garrick gets it. You see it, he gets the thing, it turns on, and it beams out these guys, but this Jem'Hadar guy gets totally killed. The bullet goes right through there on Worf. He's trying to a second later or earlier, and Worf's definitely dead.
Right.
And then they get in the runabout, and there's like no Jem'Hadar ships here. They just kind of get up there. It's very like calm, a little bit too calm, if you ask me. And they're just like, Garrick just casually goes to the panel. Is like, boop boop boop, maximum warp. Yeah, we're good.
Let's have a chat first before we go.
Let's have a chat.
They do have a chat.
Worf and Garrick go, good job, man. Good job. Yeah, I know. You did good. All right. It's all us.
Shouldn't Bashir like immediately be getting like the medical tricorder out and like helping Worf? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's pretty beat up.
Yeah. Well, he's like, we gotta get the message out. That was Bashir's number one priority before he was gonna treat any injuries. He's like, we have to warn them about Changeling Bashir.
Yeah, he's like, I will not have somebody.
I will not stand. I'm coming home. There will not be 2 Bashirs when I get home. I'm not dealing with that shit.
Yeah. I've dealt with it too many
worried.
times.
He's worried that he's stealing his best friend. The changeling is stealing his best friend.
And
He
being more
doesn't even
successful.
notice.
He doesn't even send the message to the station, just to O'Brien.
Yeah. Hey, O'Brien, the guy that's beating you in darts isn't me. Okay, so yeah, they send the message. And
Back on the station, though, they're like, "There's no. The ships are supposed to be there, but it's just blank. Like, the fight that's supposed to happen, because this is the part that's being faked by Changeling Bashir, is that the Dominion fleet is there.
Yeah,
but it's not.
It's not.
And then they ask, like, where is, like, Cisco asks, where is Dr. Bashir? Because, like, they get this message from him. What the hell? His last known location was Runabout Pad E. You know, so
you can see this moment where he goes, "Oh."
He goes, "That's not good."
That's Bashir, Changeling Bashir. This is where he puts it together. He's like, "Changeling's a Bashir's a changeling," and he's like, "You got new orders, Major. Kill Bashir. Kill Changeling Bashir right away."
He doesn't even say that. He just says, "Destroy the Yukon."
Yeah,
that's it. And she's like, "Okay."
Yeah, she's like, all right.
And they're like, it's heading towards the Bajoran sun, right? We see,
and then Dax does some science work. She's like, "There's a bomb on that runabout, and if it explodes in the sun, it's going to trigger a supernova." And so Kira's like, "Okay, well, we're gonna have to go to warp in a solar system."
Yeah, and Bashir has no lines here, but he's so evil. He's such like this evil supervillain. Like it's good work him going back and forth between these two characters he's playing in this episode.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, we're too far away," and this is where I guess you can call this the Kira maneuver.
Take us to warp. Inside a solar system. If we don't, there won't be a solar system left.
And then, so this is why it takes normally 3 hours to get to Bajor, because they would never warp to Bajor because it's too dangerous. But the Defiant does, all the way to the sun. Actually, this is really cool. Where it just like shows up, grabs the runabout in the tractor beam, and he's just like, "Dang."
Says nothing, looks up.
Yeah. And they just like fling him off and it blows up. Like, it's so quick. That worked out quick.
It was very convenient. It was a great way to end the episode, but it was like,
right. And he's like, "Yeah, they were gonna kill us all without ever firing a shot." And then we got the reunion here with Garrick and Zial. He's like, "This is weird. I'm a little uncomfortable with this. Can we go back to just the hands?" But they're a thing. And then the whole thing here with Bashir and Changeling Bashir for a month. He's like, "Yeah, much easier to get along with you than you." And we got Worf and Dax reunited with his Klingon operas, so that's nice too. And then the final chat. Well, first of all, they're like, Martok's coming to the show. He's gonna be the permanent Klingon commander on the show. Like this whole meeting up here with Gowron and then
you can choose addition to the show.
Yeah, he's coming into the show, and they're like, "Oh, good," because you remember J.G. Hertzler was in the pilot. He played the Vulcan captain of the Saratoga that was destroyed at Wolf 359. So he's been with this show kind of since the beginning, and he's played a bunch of different characters. With Martok being his most famous, of course, but
yeah, no, he's great. Yeah, so his voice is like so recognizable too.
Yeah, and then the final little like thing here with Dukat and Cisco, where he's like, "Yeah, you almost killed your daughter." He's like, "Well, she's dead to me, and I don't care." And listen,
one man's villain is another man's hero.
So this was Dukat being a heroic in his mind. He's like, "Yeah, okay."
He's so indignant when he says Zial made her choice. Like basically she chose to die. Like, I tried to warn her.
I tried to. I came there. I ordered her. It didn't work, and then, I told her screw off, and that's how it goes.
He's like, how does he not hear how evil he sounds? Like,
I have one.
One man's villain is another man's hero.
Yeah. He says, "You may have escaped defeat today.
You may have escaped defeat this day, but tomorrow."
We will see about tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
And that's it.
It's a good way to end.
And Cisco's just like, uh-oh. Like you can see like he's like, you want to fight, Dukat? I'll give you a fight. But he's kind of like, this is the long chess game, Jeff.
I think like it's just so like Cisco just like has no like he's not even like a worthy adversary because like he needed the Dominion to become strong. You know, like it's not like he built up Cardassia and they were like this just as strong a force. He basically had like he says it to him. You sold out your people to the Dominion for a monument, and you are this person that thinks you're this big tough person, but you were willing to do the most cowardly act to destroy an entire solar system. Like you just such contempt. Like you could see it in his face the way he
But
deals.
isn't Cisco a little bit mad at himself that he invited Dukat to the meeting in the first part? He was kind of trusting Dukat, and now he's just like Eddington, he's been fooled.
Why isn't he as mad at Dukat as he is at Eddington?
Because he didn't wear the uniform.
You betrayed your uniform. I need to get that on.
It's true. He's not as mad, and he should be, because what Eddington did compared to what Dukat just tried to do is not even comparable. What Dukat tried to
You betrayed your uniform!
Eddington was trying to he was more loyal to the Maquis, and he was trying to help them. He was again, his virtue was better than Dukat's. Dukat's is a very
But Dukat was never a Starfleet officer and didn't actually serve under Cisco. So I think Cisco obviously took it personally. Conversely,
but he took it personally because he didn't see it, right? Like he says that in those episodes, and then he doesn't see it here. He doesn't see Bashir.
He's not a very good judge of character.
No.
Odo must have been teaching him about security.
Yeah. Everything I learned about Odo, or everything security I learned from Odo. So
yeah.
That's all the screenshots I have and sound effects, but maybe some fun facts, Jeff.
I'm just working on that. One sec. Okay. Yeah, the episode before in Purgatory Shadow was for the uniform, so
yeah,
literally we're coming fresh off of that.
But not for us. It's been 2 months since we did that podcast.
Okay. Okay, so let's go through a few of these. Okay, so this is Melanie Smith's first appearance as Ziel. She, I believe, is the second actress to play Ziel, or the third,
I think.
She's the best. I think she's the best Ziel.
Yeah, she's the best Ziel. Okay. Cisco says that Professor Khan of the Trill Science Ministry has found a way to seal the wormhole without harming the aliens within it. This is no doubt Lenara Khan, Dax's former spouse, who appeared in Rejoined and was established as a wormhole expert.
I thought that was a nice little reference, like that doesn't, that we kind of, if you're paying attention, you would know who that is.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the only episode of DS9 directed by Gabriel Beaumont, who previously directed 7 episodes of Next Gen and would later direct Voyager's episode Blink of an Eye.
So they have different directors, these two parts.
Yeah.
Gabriel Beaumont, and the second part is Les Landau, who's like but the same writers for both episodes.
Dukat's line to Zial, quote, "Stay here and be damned," parallels Kang's line to Jadzia, "Come and be damned," from Blood Oath.
Oh
yeah, come with us and be damned.
Yeah. Okay, while trapped in the Jem'Hadar camp, Dr. Bashir proves he's human by passing a blood test. Worf questions whether the blood screenings can be trusted. He's right to be suspicious, as one of his fellow inmates is General Martok, a changeling disguised as Martok passed multiple blood screenings while infiltrating the Klingon Empire and influencing it towards war with the Federation. That's why, the whole thing with Bashir is even prison Bashir maybe not was Bashir.
Prison Bashir might be also a changeling. Wouldn't that be something?
I don't know. Due to the makeup completely covering his left eye, J.G. Hertzler had no depth perception while in character as Martok and was not allowed to perform any of his own stunts. Consequently, when Martok is fighting the Jem'Hadar, he is only seen from behind.
But the stuntman would have to have the eye covering too.
No,
not if he's from behind.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. But that's why it's so weird. Where it's like, oh, it's General Martok. Worf's like, it's General Martok. I'm like, what? You can tell from his ass, like a guy you never met.
You know.
You met his changeling?
Maybe Klingons can smell each other.
Maybe they can. Maybe they're like they're dogs and they just smell their asses.
Listen to this. Julian Bashir actor Alexander Siddig was not informed that his character had been replaced by a changeling for over a month until he received the script for this episode. He complained to the producers, telling them that if he'd known he was playing an imposter, he would have adjusted his performance accordingly. That was why he'd not been informed.
That's why they didn't tell him.
The changeling was meant to be such a good imposter that no one would notice any difference in Bashir at all. But I could see him being upset about that.
But does he have ultimately, do the writers have that right to hold that back from him or not? You know, I guess.
Oh, I'm sure they have the right. I would be pissed off at him. I mean, I'd be pissed off too, because you could do little inflections or kind of, change.
But wouldn't that give it away? Like, because if the actor is going to try to sell that to us and give us those hints, and maybe those hints not being there so obvious, makes the reveal even that much more of a shock, right?
Yeah, it worked. That's for sure. So maybe the writers are right. Oh, Dave, there's a hidden 47 reference. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Bashir is held at internment camp 371. 3 + 1 = 4, thus 47.
But it's 371.
Yeah, but 3 + 1 = 4. So you have 3 + 1.
You know how numbers work.
If you know how numbers work, yeah, like
that was a rough one.
That's like ridiculous.
That's a stretch. That's
a stretch. Come on, that's not a hidden 47.
It's a hidden 47
because there happens to be a 7 in it, and
and there's a 3 + 1.
It's so well hidden.
So well hidden, you would never even think about it.
Numerology. Okay, let's go over to the next episode by Inferno's Light. Dax is hesitant about jumping to a warp inside the Bajoran star system. In Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Captain Kirk had to risk jumping to warp inside Earth's solar system to intercept Vigors as soon as possible. Also, in order to achieve time warp velocity by slingshotting around the sun, Kirk and crew traveled at warp inside a solar system again in the voyage home. They even initiated warp speed while still in Earth's atmosphere for the return trip. And don't forget the Picard maneuver.
Yeah, so you can, I don't know, like the rules around warp drive and solar systems and what you can and can't do is a little bit shaky for me,
Yeah, because space is space. Like, is there really a difference between a solar system?
Just not advised.
It's riskier. You're better off to be an open space for warp drive, but but it seems like you can do it. It's just obviously nothing happened to the Defiant here. They were fine. Did they warp back or did they take the long way back? You think?
Probably took the long way back. Okay, Garrick's role and actions in this episode are similar to the character Danny in The Great Escape from 1963. Both men were forced to work in a confined area and both suffered from claustrophobia. It is also worth noting that Andrew Robinson himself suffers from mild claustrophobia, and on the day the crawl space scenes were shot, he was suffering from the flu, which actually is he looks like he's sick when he's in there, so that makes sense. I thought they just made him hot and that's what they did but no, he was actually sick. Although he is mentioned near the beginning of the episode, Odo does not appear in the second part, so he really doesn't do much in both these episodes.
You're right. He doesn't show up in the second part, does he? Even Quark gets more presence in this.
Which I like Odo, but sometimes I'm like, I don't need Odo.
Well,
I didn't miss him.
I didn't miss him in these episodes,
So really, we didn't even need him in the first episode for him in that conversation with Kira. It's almost like they stuck that in just so that Renee Auberjonois would have something to do, at least a little bit. But there was no Jake Sisko in either of these.
Well,
so
Jake doesn't even count.
We're going to get lots of Jake coming up.
Yeah, once he's on the station too by himself.
Yeah.
Okay. James Horan has appeared in 4 Star Trek spinoff television series. He's played Joe Brill in Next Gen. He played Lieutenant Barnaby, also in Next Gen. Tozen in Voyager. Ikatika in DS9's In Purgatory Shadow and by Inferno's Light. So this is the humanoid figure in 5 episodes of Enterprise. In addition, he lent his voice to video games. So he's really this. I don't know who this is, but
He was the Jem'Hadar first. You're talking about.
oh, is that him? Okay.
So he played a bunch of different characters. He was
Ikatika is his name,
but they never say his name, do they?
No,
Like,
no.
or if they do, it's very quickly. But yeah, I liked this guy who plays that Jem'Hadar guy. Like, he's good.
Yeah, they liked him. This marks the last time any of the DS9 casts are seen wearing the original DS9 style uniform, which is Bashir in this episode, in which debuted in Emissary. The cast switched over to the First Contact style in Rapture 5 episodes earlier. The lone holdout was the real Bashir, who had been replaced by a changeling before the change in uniforms occurred, and is still seen wearing the older style uniform in the Jem'Hadar prison camp. So, yeah, that's kind of cool.
So one thing that bothers me is that when Worf is in that Jem'Hadar fight thing, he's wearing just the red undershirt, which I hate. It's my least favorite part of that uniform is that undershirt with the zip up the middle. It looks like crap. Yes.
Why don't you like it? Because it has a zipper.
It's too zipper. It's too burgundy. It's too
It's not red
enough. Yeah, and it's mostly the zipper down the middle, and it just looks. It looks like pajamas.
It looks like kind of like wine.
It looks like wine, but they all look bad. The blue one, and the yellow one, they all look ugly. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's. I like the gray top. I like the jacket part. Fine. It's just and I like the idea of the turtleneck being sort of colored. It's just that execution of the shirt, I think, looks like shit.
Gotcha. Okay. Quark fears for his business future if the Dominion overtake the station, as neither the Jem'Hadar nor the Fenners eat, drink, or have sex. Cial tries to comfort him, suggesting that for all they know, the Vorta could be gluttonous, alcoholic, sex maniacs. Yeah, so that's fun. The Bashir Changeling's bomb was said to include trilithium. That substance was used in the rocket Dr. Soren shot at the Viridian Sun in Star Trek Generations, in which the goal was also to create a star to go nova.
Well, they also had protomatter in there, which is what Dr. David Marcus used to create the Genesis weapon.
Yes. Caldecott's role in this story is reminiscent of Henri Philippe Pétain, the French military commander who fought against German invasion in World War I, but in 1940 he submitted to the victorious Germans and was approved by them to be the puppet ruler of defeated France. Oh, well, that's actually a very interesting. Maybe they thought about that with Ducat, because Ducat's not the main guy in charge, but he's kind of takes advantage. The shots of Ducat addressing the Cardassian people on the view screens are modified from the episode Tribunal from '94, so like 2 years earlier.
And yeah, I was like, I wasn't sure if this was the first time they used it, but it's not. It's from that. You're right.
Yeah, and they used Ducat's image to replace Chief Arshron Makbar.
Right.
From that episode. Yeah, so that's why we don't get a lot of the crowds or whatever being excited, because they couldn't afford it, I guess.
What did they spend it on? Guest stars?
All the ships, the Klingon ships they were showing, and all that stuff, I think, The seemingly strange decision on the part of the Jem'Hadar to leave the runabout orbiting internment camp 371 would be addressed later in Deep Space Nine Inquisition, but not the Dominion's reason for doing so.
Yeah, it's just questioned by Sloan. He's like, why would they do that? We're like, I don't know.
Okay, and finally, the station's runabout complement returns to 3 following the destruction of the Yukon. The 3 remaining runabouts are the Rio Grande, the Volga, and the unnamed runabout used by Garrick and Worf to travel to and from the Gamma Quadrant.
They never even say the name of it. Okay.
Yeah,
they're like the runabout that's out there.
Does the Rio Grande make it through the whole
series?
series?
It's the only one. It's like original.
Right there. Right behind me. Okay.
It's the Grand.
That's the Rio Grande. Okay, that's it for the fun facts.
All right,
ratings.
Let's do it. So Jeff, what do you want to give part 1 in Purgatory's Shadow?
I give it like an 8.
Give an 8 to this one. Oh, wait, an 8. And part 2?
9.5 for part 2.
I'm going 9.5 for part 1, and I'll go 9 for part 2. Neil's not here. Ashley not here. Kevin?
10s for both. These are great episodes.
No, you're right. I should go 10 and 9.5. That's what I'm going up here. All right. So and Davin also not with us tonight. So that averages at 9.3 and 9.7 for the three of us tonight. 8.7 and 8.88 respectively on IMDb. And so we know most of this other stuff. So the episode that comes after this, Jeff, what's it called?
It's Dr. Bashir, right? I presume.
Dr. Bashir, I presume, which I believe has Robert Picardo, right?
Yes.
As Zimmerman, which I love that episode too. So it's it's nice to be back talking about Deep Space Nine. I know we spent 2 hours talking about these 2-part episodes, which don't even add up to 2 hours, but got some great stuff. I'm glad that we were well rested for it to come in here and go through it again.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun to get back in the swing of things here, and ready to get into the home stretch here of all the best DS9 stuff.
Deep Space Nine at 9-ish. We're back, baby. Now on Wednesdays.
Now move to new time, same 9-ish time.
That's right. Make sure to check out our other podcasts like Star Trek Enterprise Rewatch every Monday night with Kevin Millard, Jody Simpson, and myself, along with Adam Woodward.
You've been keeping up with that?
We've been keeping up. Damn right, we've been keeping up. I watched the podcast the other night with I wasn't on it, but it was Kevin, Jody, and Adam, and they were like, "We all hate this episode." And I gave it they got to the ratings part, they were all giving 0s and 3s, and when I already given my rating earlier 7.5, and they were just like, "What is Dave on? What's wrong?" I was like, I thought the episode was fine. I had my issues with it, but. It was just interesting watching.
It was an aggressive piece of shit.
Yeah, the three of them just hated it for the whole thing. So it was interesting to. But then Davin and I, if we had been there, we would have been fighting with them, but we weren't there, so it is what it is. But every Monday night going through Star Trek Enterprise, we are now into season 2. We just did Minefield. That was one no one liked apparently, but Dead Stop is the next one. That we'll be talking about season 2, episode 4 next Monday night. That will be on June 20th, and then Thursdays we're talking about whatever is new on Star Trek, because that's when Paramount puts out their newest Star Trek show. Right now, it's Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. We are now heading into this next episode is going to be called The Serene Squall, which is season 1, episode 7. Jeff, I know you haven't watched Strange New Worlds yet, but I think you're really going to like it when you do.
You guys really give it high praise.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's good. It's back. It's like old school Star Trek. It's like,
which is better. So that's the thing. When you do Discovery, just give us some of the old stuff, and we'll eat that up.
My only low points is when Spock starts crying about Michael Burnham and whatever.
Wait, what?
No, that's barely.
He didn't really cry. He just kind of mentions it.
Mentions it maybe twice in 6 episodes.
But he doesn't cry.
No, but he's clearly sad about it or something. Something's up. So I'm oh my god, the scene with Michael Burnham and Spock at the end of season 2 of Discovery, where they say goodbye for what feels like for 20 minutes, where they're I'll see you, I love you, or whatever the hell they talk. I've blocked it out. It's the worst. So
yeah.
I don't need that ever again. I don't need those two characters to ever interact again. But all things considered, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, every Thursday, we're covering the newest episodes, as we did with Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Prodigy and all the new ones that have been coming out for some time now. And Star Trek Lower Decks, presumably on the horizon as well. Coming up. So it seems like there's always a new Star Trek episode coming out. Check that out Thursdays here on Live Long and Podcast. Plus, check out our other channels like Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. Nothing too active going on at the moment, but we have some things on the horizons. Big Brother. We have some Marvel podcasts we need to do. We have a bunch of podcasts we have to do. But check out Big Brother USA 24 coming up. We just finished up Survivor 42 and Big Brother 23 before that. And Celebrity Big Brother 3 before that. So lots of different reality shows, scripted and unscripted, that we talk about over on that channel. And then Trivial Debates is our other channel where we talk about, we argue about movies, TV, sports, game show format. We haven't done one in a couple months, but we'll be setting up another edition soon as we continue this 3rd season. Anything I missed? Check out our friends' podcasts like Aim and Mater's got Let's Talk About Fighting Games with Super Smash Bros. Seth.
It's Sam Jerka.
And Paranoia. Sam Jerka, yes, of course. And don't forget about the Hellbound podcast with Michael Chan and Alex Blackburn. That's on Wednesdays as well. If you like horror, check that one out.
Yep.
And of course, Davin Skellhorn. He's got Locutors of Trek, his Star Trek themed channel, as well as and they do all kinds of fun things over there. You should definitely check them out, as well as X-Men the animated series rewatch, similar to what we do here on D Space 9 at 9ish, but with X-Men the animated series. He does with Andre every Tuesday. So I think those are all the big plugs. Check those things out, and thanks for being with us tonight. And on that note, I need some kind of a.
Give us a Ducat. Give us something Ducat.
Okay, Ducat's going out here. Well, I know. Do you want something from this episode or just
yes, from this episode?
Okay, give me a second. Ducat. Okay, I know what I want. I want.
Cardassia will be made whole. All that we have lost will be ours again, and anyone who stands in our way will be destroyed.